Julia, welcome. How are you? What's going on?
Sammy, I'm
Yes,
doing great. Happy to be here today.
me too, me too. So today's just you and I. We're actually going to have a very intimate session, coaching challenge experience, but we're going to share it with the world. Isn't that awesome? So
Sounds great.
we're here to share it and to give and to see how we can help others and help ourselves. So Julia, talk to me. How are we doing today? How are you?
Doing pretty well. Definitely keeping busy. I'm excited to learn some more tips and tricks as far as how to better focus myself and ensure that I'm taking the correct path and, reaching the correct milestones in order to ultimately reach my goals.
Fantastic, fantastic. So Julia, today we're going to focus on patterns. Okay, I think I've mentioned to you in the past, everything we do in life is based on our patterns. We have certain repetitive thoughts, repetitive actions, repetitive emotions, repetitive people we go to or don't go to, and it creates an experience. So I'd love for us to go deep today, if possible, to patterns in terms of your life. Now, this whole challenge is meant to help with generational wealth building. And to me, wealth, of course it includes money, because without money you can't buy anything, right? But it also includes happiness. It includes fulfillment. It includes, the proper relationships, love, passion, living life, like at the maximum peak level. So to me, that's wealth. So today, yesterday, we spoke about the driving forces in your life and taking control of them so that you can go ahead and basically, live wealthy because you're controlling your life and not letting others control it. Because at the end of the day, what really is wealth? It's freedom. Being able to do what you want, when you want, and how you want. Let me ask you a question, Julia. What is wealth
Sure.
for you? Okay. What's wealth for you?
I mean, aside from physical money,
Yes.
I would say, it's super contrite, but, the greatest wealth is health. And
Of course.
I always like to think of, being wealthy is also having strong family connections and strong friends, people who are there to help support you in times that you need. And so being wealthy in those regards means being surrounded by a loving and caring support system. So I immediately think of my mom and my 2 older brothers.
Okay. So wealth is relationships and health, basically, for you.
Yes, I try not to, of course, it's naive to just sort of disregard money when you think of wealth, because of that's what immediately comes to your mind. But I try not to place all of the emphasis on that, because I think there are more important things in life, and I try to focus on them as well. And of course, what's the point of wealth if you don't have family and friends to share it with?
There you go. There you go. Okay. So Julia, our challenge, the challenge I'm doing, is going to be huge. The next challenge, I think we're going to have 5,000 people, 10,000 people. But this challenge is a little bit more intimate and more one-on-one, or 1-on-2 or 3, 5, whatever. We'll see who comes on the next few days. But the point is, Julia, we did assign homework. And I think maybe the homework, we can do it together now, because I think really I believe the homework is critical for us to really get the maximum value from what we're doing here. So would that be okay with you if we do the homework together right now, you and I?
Where it's just a part of the main video that we're recording?
Yeah, exactly. In other words, if what you were supposed to go and do live online, we're recording live, you and I. So, boom, it's great success. You're getting all comfy. I love it.
I know,
Dude, don't ever tell me how much I value you. You're the best. You're the best. You really are. You're an awesome person, and yeah, I'm very proud, happy, and grateful. And it's an honor to really work with you here. So let's
let's revisit that. Let's stick to our agenda as far as as far as planning.
The plan is we have to do the homework too. So the homework is part of the plan. So do you have the homework in front of you, or do you want me to look it up? It should be on Facebook.
You totally bombarded me with this.
I'm sorry, what?
You totally bombarded me with this.
I did? All right.
Well, man.
A little bit. You weren't ready for it?
Weren't you the one who was telling me you stayed up until 4 a.m. in the morning creating this syllabus?
Yes. Well, not only the syllabus, like in other words, working on different parts of it. Okay, homework day 1. Part 1. I'm sorry?
I'm excited to hear about these patterns that you're talking about.
No, we're gonna get there. This is gonna take 2 minutes. It's very important, Julia, and this is, I think, a very good pattern to create for yourself.
I rolled my eyes in case you couldn't see.
I love it. It's good when we're one-on-one. No distractions. So it's very important to follow through on what we begin. So we had something we did yesterday, and part of the follow-through was the homework. So we'll do it together. That's okay. But it's good we complete the homework. So homework.
We'll do it together. The 2 of us.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. What did you think I was talking about? Okay.
Okay.
Homework day. I'm sorry. What?
Okay, go. Don't let me interrupt you.
Homework day 1, part 1, live video with a short 60-second video of who you are, where you are from, and what you want to get out of this experience together during the challenge. Julia, your turn. Go ahead.
All right. My name is Julia. I'm originally from the Catskill Mountains in upstate New York. I initially moved down to New York City to attend Columbia University, where I studied sustainable development. And then I've been working in the solar industry for the past 5 years. I'm taking a brief hiatus to help my mother through some medical issues. And simultaneously, I'm also studying to get my private pilot's license.
Okay. And what are you trying to get out of this challenge?
I'm definitely looking for a little bit more direction as far as when I do look to return to the solar development space. I'm potentially considering making a couple different moves, whether it's to a larger development firm. I'm definitely looking to broaden my knowledge of the solar energy industry as a whole, because one day I would like to start my own firm, and I'm trying to become as knowledgeable as possible and learn about all aspects of the industry. So that way, when I am ready to tie them together, I'll be good to go.
Okay, perfect. Part 2 of the homework is a 1 to 5 minute video about these questions. What 2 core emotional needs drive you, and what do you value the most? You mentioned this yesterday, but I just want to see, go ahead.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. Of the 6 items that we discussed, I would say significance and growth. So I need to be passionate about the project that I am working on, and I need to know that what I am doing is making a difference to the world. And I also need to know that I am growing and developing as a person, as an individual.
Beautiful. Okay, what has to happen for you to experience these optimally on a regular basis?
In order to see my work as significant, I definitely need to experience a moderate level of success in order to maintain my level of enthusiasm in the project. I think it's naive to say that, one day I'll be successful, one day I'll get there, but we all need that little bit of reassurance along the way. And so I like to celebrate the small milestones with any project. Solar development, these are projects that can take years to develop, to get all the permits for, and to get the zoning straightened out, and to, get all the approvals for interconnection. So I like to celebrate the small milestones along the way, because it's the little bits of significance that do ultimately add up to a successful project. So I don't like to wait until the very end to celebrate a win. I like to celebrate the small victories along the way as well.
So you said your 2 most valued emotions was significance and growth?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And you said for you to experience significance, what has to happen? I'm still not hearing it. Because again, let me just be clear. I'm not talking about a specific job or a specific role or a specific career or a specific business. I'm talking about just you as a person. What has to happen for you to realize this need of significance and this need of growth, which you value highest from the 6 needs we discussed?
Okay. For me to feel a sense of significance, I need to know that the work I am doing is having a positive impact, that the work I am doing matters, is making a difference, and that I am growing from it as a person.
Okay. So and for growth, it's the same thing. Basically, I guess it's tied in, growth and significance.
Yes. So I need to know that I am learning more about the industry, that I am, gaining as much knowledge as I can possibly do in a certain position.
Okay. Now, the final question was, are these the best serving emotional needs out of the 6 we mentioned? We mentioned certainty, variety, significance, love, connection, growth, and contribution. And if yes, is there a way to create rules that make satisfying those needs easy and failing to do so impossible? We mentioned this yesterday. By the way, what we're doing right now is life-changing. Because if you can create something where what you value most, you're able to again and again and again get, you're going to live beautifully. You're going to live abundantly. You see?
And that's what I want.
Go ahead. So yes, that's my question for you.
If you don't mind, I'm just going to take a quick glance at my list of the 6. So certainty, variety, significance, love, growth, and contribution. Of course, we all need a combination of those 6 to feel fulfilled.
Right. Yes.
I would say, like we discussed earlier, my family is very important to me. So love and care is also a major thing in my life. So I don't want to completely negate that and just focus on career growth. I also want to talk about personal growth, personal fulfillment, making sure that I'm taking care of those around me. In return, they're also taking care of me, in terms of emotional duress or, any struggles that I may be going through at the moment.
Okay. But we're not getting the answer, though. Do you feel that those 2 needs you mentioned are the best ones for you, for your future?
For what?
Yes. Because you didn't mention love, by the way, as one of out of the top 2. Interestingly. I wonder why.
Probably because it's been so ingrained in us that work and family are 2 entirely separate entities. But you're right, I don't think that's necessarily the case because, part of it comes from, if you love what you do, you're going to be putting a lot of time and effort and dedication into it. And most likely you're going to be more successful with it. The best athletes, they love their sport. They dedicate all their time to training, to studying the rule book, studying different plays, studying different teams, studying their opponents. They love it to such an extent that they dedicate all their time and energy to it. And where focus goes, energy flows, as someone once told me.
Yes.
And so if you have a loving, caring support system around you, that can certainly work wonders to help you stay motivated and stay on task, because you need to be fulfilled emotionally in order to have the energy to dedicate to other things. So if your emotional needs aren't going to be met, you're not going to be as productive when pursuing a business or, when pursuing any personal endeavors.
Sure. Right. You're saying a lot of, my gosh, awesome, important stuff, but you're still not really answering the question.
As far as what drives me the most?
In other words, I keep hearing work. And it seems to me that work, you associate a lot of your value and your happiness with work. Am I correct? Okay.
But I think we all...
Depends what we do, how we do it. That's another discussion. But my point is, I'm asking about you as a human, you as a soul, you as a part of God, the universe, whatever you feel you are. What emotional needs drive you, independent of activities? You're saying, well, I'm at work. Okay, I got it. If you love your work, but that's not the point. The point is, what do you value personally, yourself emotionally? What is the most important thing? Like, for example, to be certain in life, to have that certainty consistently met. Is that what's the highest, most important thing for you that you feel should be the most important? You already said what's the most important, but do you feel maybe it would be worth it for you to explore redirecting and shifting the priority of what emotional needs you value the most? Maybe it'll provide you more value, maybe not. But my question is, would certainty be better, or variety, or significant? Well, you mentioned significance, love, connection, growth, or contribution. Like, in other words, which of those two would be better for you, if not the ones you already have? Or do you think the ones you have are perfect for you and they're the best for you at this point in time? And it's okay, whatever you feel. I'm just, go ahead.
I certainly feel like I'm not paying as much attention to love as I should.
Why is that? Why is that? If you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah, probably just because, we've been so ingrained to separate work and family, work and love, work and relationships. And so when I talk about what drives me, I think solely in terms of driven from a work perspective, from a career perspective.
That's very interesting.
But if you actually analyze my life, right now I am dedicating my time to helping my mother. So for instance, today, I woke up, made her breakfast, took her to her doctor's appointments. We ran some errands together.
Love it.
I walked her dog, which I know since she can't do at the moment, I'm happy to do. So, most of my day at the moment, revolves around, caring for my mother. She has done everything for me. And so I feel that this is an opportunity to give back. So I feel like, when you asked me the question, what drives you? I was solely thinking from a work perspective, from a career perspective.
So time out right there. So maybe this is where I can actually add some value, hopefully. So my question is, why is that? Why are we looking at work as our only source of value, when honestly, frankly, time out, when that should be the least valuable? I think you should do what you love, but go ahead. So why are you looking at your whole purpose of living and what you value the most based on work? Why is that? The truth.
Why do
I love it because we're going to get somewhere. Go ahead.
You're asking why do I place so much of my own value and self-worth on my career?
When you analyze your emotional needs, I didn't ask you if I would have asked you how do you get the career, which emotional driver, that wasn't the question. The question was you holistically, like completely, like in life, what drives you? And you kept focusing, and you're still focusing on the work part. So my question is, why? And does that serve you long term, deeply, with fulfillment and happiness? And
probably not.
And wealth, because we're all here about wealth. Because, for example, Julia, this is the point. While you're thinking about the answer, I know, you probably know, of course you know, tons of millionaires, billionaires, people that have everything. They just, snap their fingers, they have it available, and they're miserable and overdosing and having issues. And
time again.
Exactly. So therefore, you broke up. What did you say?
Oh, I said, we can all think of a couple examples of
a couple. I think it's there's like tons and tons and tons. There's so many wounded, destroyed. So we see there's a lot of people that go through that. So my question, therefore, is not what regarding work, the emotional drivers. My question is in terms of you. when nobody is telling you how to live or what to do or how to do it, or, you got to be what drives you emotionally, for real. So maybe now, so now maybe I have to explore from those 6 needs, which you have written down, which would you pick the top 2? Is it still those same 2 you mentioned before, or now would you replace them differently?
I would probably replace them differently based on your...
Okay, tell us.
If I analyze my own life, clearly my entire life is, revolved around my family, and there's so much love there and so much appreciation that I have for my mom and my brothers, everything that they've done for me. And, I'm happy to, help out my mom now, because I just think about, all that she ever did for me in my childhood, support and taking care of me, and doing everything she possibly could to, give me every, advantage, growing up.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, so I would say love
is number 1.
Probably.
Okay.
I kind of want to tie in love and giving / contribution was one of them, because I feel that love is a very reciprocate, you reciprocate love.
Yeah.
It's not just decided, you don't just give it, you don't just receive it, and it's true love, it's universal. So I kind of want to say, love and giving, because I feel like they're almost one and the same, or they should be.
True,
at least wants one, nobody wants love to be one-sided.
Absolutely. No argument there. I agree. Go ahead.
Because I feel like there is a lot of these items that do tie together.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to say love, but also, giving and contribution are tied into there. And then, I still want to say significance, even in terms of...
Interesting.
I still want to say significance, but I'm going to reanalyze it. So previously, I was saying significance in terms of work. I need to know that, what I'm doing is helping the environment, for instance, solar farm, you're helping reduce carbon emissions,
Sure.
You're helping to counteract the oil and gas industry, you're providing a healthier alternative to those traditional energy sources. Okay. So I always thought in terms of significance, sure. Significant difference to the world as a whole, to the global economy. But the thing is, significance doesn't just have to be on a global scale. It can be, what am I doing to help out my family and friends? What am I doing to help out my mom? What am I doing to help out my brothers? And so I do feel that the way I'm helping out my mom, okay. with her medical is very significant to her, absolutely. And it's also significant to my brothers, for instance. So
well, time out. I just have to stop you there. When I talk about your emotional needs, it's not if it's significant to someone else in terms of yourself.
It's significant to me because I know that I'm helping them. And to me, that's so satisfying.
Okay. So you look at it a little bit differently. It's not that you're looking for personal significance, like whatever, but it's more of like you want to do things that make a difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I'm doing is making a difference.
Okay. So now my question to you, Julia, is what has to happen? So now that we've, thrown out the other ones, and now we have love. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Sorry.
Okay.
Frozen in the fast forward.
No problem. What has to happen for you to experience love and for you to experience significance regularly? And can you go ahead and make it an easier rule or easier set of rules to experience it regularly? So in other words, you're talking about love. So what are the rules you have to feel that I'm getting the love? I'm getting, you're getting like that sunshine. That love's coming my way. What has to happen for you to experience that you're getting that? And also the significance, and whatever you say, let's close out with this. I'm going to move on to the patterns of how can you make it even easier for you to experience it? And how can you make it harder for you not to experience it? Or even impossible not to experience it? And maybe write this down, because this can be life-changing for you. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So what do I need in order to feel loved? I mean, people always talk about, what's your love language? There's quality time, acts of service, giving and receiving gifts, physical touch. Feel free to jump in if you can think of any others. Anyway, so there are all different ways that people experience love, in terms of giving and receiving love. And I don't think it's any one item in particular. I could certainly pinpoint certain actions and behaviors that people, my family and friends have done for me that have made me feel loved, that have made me feel valued.
Sure.
Whether it's a small gesture, like somebody, okay, this may be incredibly small, but I feel like any small gesture, is like a gesture of love. So it was literally just yesterday. I was busy studying in my room, and so my brother knocked on my door and called me out so he could point out a rainbow that was over our front yard. So he interrupted my little study session so he could point out a rainbow so my mom and I could come out and look at it together. And I thought, even though it's just like a very small gesture, that means a lot to me. The fact that he saw something beautiful and his first thought was, oh, I need to share this with my sister and my mom. So even a small gesture like that, or, even someone, is out running errands and they pick up a little sweet for you or something, like, hey, I saw this at the bakery and, I know you love, this kind of pastry, so I got it for you. It doesn't even have to be a big, expensive or like some huge gesture. It's the little things that show that someone's thinking about you, that they're caring about you, that really mean a lot to me.
Okay, so it sounds like your standard to realize it is at a level where you can do it often, and it's easy to be realized. Okay. Is there a way to make it even easier for yourself? Let me rephrase it.
Before I forget.
Go ahead.
For me, it's probably important that it's important to acknowledge that everyone has different ways of expressing their love. And people may lean more or less towards a certain love language. And it's important to recognize that other people may not share the same primary love language as you do. And just because they don't express their love in the way that you do, doesn't mean that they don't love you. They show their love in different ways, whether it's, by being by your side, during, a tough emotional point in your life, or, whether it be like a grandiose gesture. There's no right or wrong way to show love, and everyone does it differently, and it's important to acknowledge that.
Right. But to be clear, I'm talking about you. I feel maybe that's something we need to go into for real quick, because I'm not talking about for people to experience love. I'm not talking about for the workplace. I'm talking about you. When do you feel like this magical experience called love? What has to happen for you? How easy is it for you to truly feel that love and connection and the significance? That's my question. And when you don't feel you get the love, which we all feel at times, how hard is it for that to happen? And my whole point of this is I want to make it a lot easier for you to experience love a lot more abundantly. And I want to make it a lot harder, close to impossible, close to never, to not have love. So even if someone's like being a complete not job, being the most annoying, you still find some love in there. That's the level we're talking about. But go ahead. So yeah, that's what I want to accomplish. And then we'll move to significance, and we got to go to patterns. Let's go, because we're spending a lot of time on this. This is a long homework. Go ahead. Yes.
Where do you want me to pick up?
Exactly where you want to pick up from. From love. How do you make for you? I just want you to forget about others and focus on you and realize, write this down. Before you can become selfless to the optimal level, you have to be selfish first. Charity begins at home. You have to make sure that you are fulfilled with what you want, or else you're creating resentment, or else you're creating future hate, or else you're creating regret or having negative energy in the future, and that never serves you. So you always want to make sure that you do that. Go ahead. Okay, I'm listening. All ears.
Okay. I wrote down charity begins at home.
Yes.
Where basically I'm ruminating on different ways that I can experience love more often.
Exactly. Like
the
words. How?
Pretty good.
I'm sorry. What? Go ahead.
Pretty good ones as far as small gestures. No gestures too big or small.
Okay, so you experience love easily. It doesn't take a lot for you to experience love.
I think I could be a little bit better at recognizing the small things.
Tell me more about that. Tell us more.
Like I mentioned, everyone shows love in different ways. And so I think I need to be a little bit more understanding that, people do show love in different ways. And just because you want to make sure that you don't, set unrealistic expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we
have unrealistic expectations. What do you mean by that?
Like in terms of from friends or significant others, for instance.
Okay, well, right. I get. You mean friends and others, but what do you mean by unrealistic expectations? It's unrealistic to expect love from them, is what you're saying?
No. That sounds.
That's
poor.
kind of what you said, and you rolled your eyes. Go ahead.
I think it is important to understand that there are different levels of friendship, and it can take other people a little bit longer to warm up to you. For instance.
Okay.
Some people may be at a point in their lives, and we're talking strictly like platonic friends. We're not talking in terms of relationships. And I think it's important to realize that people, may have a lot going on in their lives, and they may not be open to necessarily putting themselves out there to have a close friend. Because there have certainly been times in my life where, I met, a friend, and, we instantly clicked. And so I thought, oh, we're going to be best friends, this, that, and the other. And, we became, fast friends. But I always felt like I was looking for a little bit of a closer friend, where we could get a little bit deeper into more meaningful conversations. And I felt like our conversations were still sort of, cursory, peripheral, sort of, not so meaningful things, in terms of, I don't know how to give an example necessarily, but maybe more just conversations that weren't deeply personal. We kept it very lighthearted, dinners, parties, brunch, that sort of thing. And so we became friends in that regard. So it was more sort of like weekends, get together, going out, grab a drink kind of friends. And so I feel like I'm looking more for to get a little bit more personal, to see, how they were actually doing, in terms of like family struggles that they were going through, or struggles at work. I was looking for a little bit closer friends. And, eventually we did, get a lot closer, and now we're able to share more intricate parts of our lives with each other, which is great. I just feel like we might have been at different stages initially to getting there.
But did you feel love even when you weren't at that point, or not?
Yes, but I probably could have done a better job at recognizing it, because I feel like I had higher expectations at that point in time.
So how can you make it easier? Bottom line, let's get like a short answer. Yes, yes.
Maybe if I like better voiced my expectations for our friendship, because I would get frustrated sometimes, if she, I were trying to make plans and she wouldn't necessarily like text back as quickly as I would like her to. And, now I know that's just sort of her personality. Whereas if I get her on the phone, she'll talk for hours. And now I recognize that, not everyone's good at texting. Not everyone even likes to do it. So
now how can we make it harder for you to experience the lack of love? How could we create a rule for you that from now on, for you to experience the opposite of love is almost never going to happen? That you'll see love in everything, almost, and everyone.
Okay, that's what we're aiming for. That's what we're going for.
Yes,
ma'am. To see love in everything. I mean, that seems like such a beautiful way to live. Of course.
There you go. That would be wealth, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be.
Wouldn't that be the peak of emotional? Wouldn't that be like the equivalent of being a trillionaire, but in emotion and just your soul and your heart? And that's
write that one.
Sure.
See love in everything.
Right. For example, Julia, while you're thinking about that, for example, let's say you come and you tap me, right? So I could say, oh my gosh, what a terrible person hitting me like that. Oh my gosh, my shoulder, I don't know, I'm tired of, or I could be like, wow, she's my best friend. She loves me. Wow, she tapped me like that. Look at that. Right? It's the same thing happened.
You could look at it and think, even if it was a tad hard, you could think like, wow, she's comfortable enough with me to do that to me. She's comfortable enough to tease me.
Yes.
She's comfortable enough to tell me the truth that I need to hear, but don't want to hear.
Exactly.
That's a big thing for me, is I think being a good friend is sometimes telling your friends the hard truths. Not being mean about it, but if they are engaging in some sort of a behavior or activity that's definitely not beneficial to them, and I'm not talking about having a formal intervention for them, but if there's some way that you could, express your concern in a non-confrontational way, I think that's part of being a good friend.
Got it. Okay, so this is the idea. So like, just for your future, if you want to write this down, always let's focus on taking our core emotional needs, reshifting them to what serves us best, reshifting them to what serves us best as we evolve, and making it very easy to satisfy it on a regular, consistent basis, and very hard not to. So in other words, you don't go by one day without experiencing $1 trillion of love. You don't go by 1 hour, 1 moment without experiencing $1 trillion of love. That is wealth. And we're here to talk about wealth. So that's what I would say for number 1. And the same for significance. Real quick, let's go to significance. We've got to move to patterns. Go ahead. Same question for significance. What has to happen for you to feel significant? And how can you make that easier? And how can you make it close to impossible to feel insignificant? That's, I think, the most important question. The last one. Go ahead.
I mean, some things I'll do out of habit, and I won't even recognize or acknowledge it because it's just so second nature to me.
Yes.
And I will do something, and then I'll have others comment on it.
Yes.
And, they'll say like, oh, what a nice, thoughtful thing for you to do. And I'll just sort of brush them off because I'll just be like, oh, who wouldn't do that? Why wouldn't you do that? And so,
wait, so stop right there. Stop right there. Isn't that blockage of additional radiance of love that you're blocking out? And maybe the highest level of giving is being able to accept.
Being able to accept yourself?
No, being able to accept what others do for you, and being able to accept what you do for them. and being able to not be like, oh, that was nothing. Instead, what would happen if you're like, it was my pleasure. I was so happy to do it for you. Versus when you said it's nothing, you took something great and you made it into nothing. For real. Literally, that's what you did with your words. But instead, if you would say, you know what? It was my pleasure and honor. And you feel even more love and you really feel that love. Wouldn't that increase the level of love in your life and take the love, thing a lot higher?
Yeah, that certainly would. If I were a lot more appreciative of myself and my actions instead of sort of discounting, ways that I, go out of the way for others.
And I think that ties into significance. So what's the answer for significance to this question real quick? Because we got to move on. We're already spending a lot of time on the homework. Go ahead.
I mean, again, it'd be acknowledging the small things that I do for others and not simply discounting them.
So, so you feel significance by acknowledging what you do, or that others should acknowledge what you do?
No, I should acknowledge more of what I do, because oftentimes.
Interesting. Okay.
Oftentimes, and I've thought about this, people will do things for me, and I'm very appreciative of them, but I'll feel sort of guilty about them.
What do you mean by that?
I'm trying to think of an example. Like let's say, I'll be out with my friends and, it's like, I'll be like the first person to like put down my credit card. It's like, oh yeah, I got your smoothie. Don't worry about it. Or like, oh, I got your drink. Or like, I got your bagel. Like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Like, it's on me this time. But then as soon as someone else is like, oh, it's on me, don't worry about it. Then I'm like, oh, do I deserve this? Like, I feel like I owe them. And
Perfect.
So like,
Okay.
I feel like oftentimes like I'm giving and giving without a second thought. And then as soon as someone turns around and reciprocates it to me, I have all these doubts. Like, I feel like I'm taking advantage of them, even though I'm not, because like last week, I bought them lunch. So of course, they'd want to buy me lunch like this week, it should go both ways, especially with friends. It's
all right, write this down, Julia. Write this down, please. Sometimes we get, or sometimes we actually give by accepting.
Okay.
Sometimes the highest level of giving is accepting.
Huh.
For example, Julia, let's say you spent 5 weeks finding the most perfect gift, and you come and you get it, and you give it to your bestie, and they're like, oh, I can't take it, and they don't want to take it. You'd be like, what the hell? I put so much into this.
I would be really upset. You're right.
There you go. And what you're doing by that is you're blocking that love from coming into your life. So maybe this is the whole point of that, is that you need to cut through that bullshit and make a decision that you're no longer going to do that. You're going to be okay with receiving, because receiving is giving. You're giving to the other person when you receive. And whatever bullshit story you have of why you shouldn't receive it, destroy it. You're a giver, you're a lover, you're kind, you're good. It's okay to receive. And by receiving, the other person feels satisfied, feels fulfilled. And then you connect the love. So I want you to understand this. When you don't accept it fully, or you're like pushing it off, so then you're taking the love and you're putting a wall. And it doesn't serve you.
Ooh, that's a good one. Because, I would say that one of my love languages is certainly giving and receiving gifts, because I love to give gifts.
Okay, well, what would happen? What would happen if everyone you give a gift to gives it right back to you and refuses to accept it and leaves it at your door? Would you feel terrible?
I'd feel awful.
So then why would you do that? So then why would you do that to them? Even if it means that you ultimately accept it, by you putting up that wall, don't you feel that takes away a little bit of their happiness and their love that they wanted to give you? Think about that. Versus, if you would just say, oh my gosh, I really appreciate so much. I'm going to cherish this. It means so much to me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry, what?
I would so much rather have that reaction when I give someone a gift. So
start practicing today. Starting today, we're doing that. Deal? Yes?
Okay.
Yes? Okay, good. All right, perfect. Okay, significance. You didn't ask significance. We're up to patterns. We're spending all this time on. So what happens for you to feel significance? What has to happen for you to experience it? This is going deep, huh? That's why you didn't want to do this homework. The truth's go ahead. I'm kidding. Forgive me.
No, it's okay. Again, as far as small, I thought we went over this, as far as small things making a difference.
Okay. So in other words, when do you feel insignificant?
When the work that I do isn't meeting my expectations.
And could you be sometimes a little bit too hard on yourself?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely.
So can you make it easier for you to regularly experience significance and make it very hard to feel insignificance, and maybe separate the ultimate outcome from putting your heart and soul into it and forgetting about what happens, but focusing more on that? Yes, I put my heart and soul. I'm good. I'm golden. With God, with the company, with whoever I work with or do.
Yeah, absolutely.
My friends.
I can realize that, any progress is good progress. Yesterday we talked a lot about how, tearing free of the shackles of perfectionism.
Sure.
Not letting the fear of failure prevent you from making progress and from taking steps forward.
Okay, so what decisions are we going to make? And we're moving right now to patterns. What decisions are we going to make to help serve you better with love? But I think love is not so much the issue. We already have that you're going to accept. So with love, we made a decision, yes, that we're going to accept and not put this blockage. When people are giving us love, we're going to take that love. Okay,
we're going to receive.
We're going to receive it. We're going to receive it, and we're not going to put this wall, and we're not going to create this thing, and we're just going to make them feel great about it, and ourselves feel great. And number two, with significance, we're going to make ourselves feel significant consistently, and we're not going to allow ourselves with bullshit to feel insignificant. Yes?
Got it.
Good. All right. Let's go to patterns. All right. You ready? Unless you have any questions or concerns or comments.
Not at the moment.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about patterns. Everything in life, okay? Tony Robbins says, if you give this to your kids or to whoever, this is all they need for, to really, for their life to be like on a different level, okay? Number one is pattern recognition. To recognize the patterns that you're personally going through, that your family is going through, your community, your country, your state, your country, the world, whatever. Are we in winter? Are we in summer? To recognize the patterns. But it's not just about being able to recognize the patterns. Just like you said before, like certain things were happening, you just didn't recognize them and they were there. But it's also about using them. Once you recognize the patterns, they don't mean much if you don't use them properly. I'm a trader. I trade, right? Bull Bear Strategic. You can check me out. So like.
I have.
Okay, good. And there's a lot more content that's about to go there. But what I'm saying is, like with me, I could see patterns and recognize them. But if I don't put in the trade, then I'm not going to profit on the opportunity, right? So life is the same way. It's not just about recognizing the patterns, but then you need to use them in a way that serves you. And then finally, when you become the person you're capable of becoming, you can create patterns. Like musicians and leaders and politicians and this and that, they create patterns. They do things that create a ripple effect in the whole world. people that never have seen them are impacted by them. So those are the 3 levels. So let's talk about you, Julia, if you're okay with that. What are patterns in your life? What are the patterns? Like, do you recognize your patterns that you go through in life?
Can you give me an example?
Sure. You have a home, right? You have where you live. You said you live in the Catskills right now. You live in New York, right? In the city, whatever. That's your home, your physical home. You also have an emotional home. You have your go-to place. You have a place you go to when you get hit, when you get a bump, when there's a curveball, when things don't go your way, when you're having a down day or whatever. You have certain patterns, certain emotional homes where you live. If you'd like to share that with us, that would be awesome. Whatever
the emotional home?
Your emotional homes. Like, what are the patterns? Like, where do you go to when things are tough? What do you end up doing? Like, go ahead. I'm not going to add. I want you to talk from your heart.
To, like, branch off wherever. So, like, if I have, like, what outlets I go to necessarily?
Mm-hmm. What? I'm sorry?
Like, what outlets necessarily? I mean, usually I go directly to family. So if I'm having a tough day, or if I'm going through, a tumultuous time in my life, I'll usually go to my mom or my brothers for advice, or not even just for advice, just to sort of have like a helpful ear to listen in on. Okay,
go ahead.
I also have a couple of very close friends, and they often end a listening ear. Sometimes, a lot of times people don't necessarily want advice. They just want to vent. They just want to be able to tell their story so that way they can process it and sort of work through things on their own time and own turn. And it's nice to have people who, aren't necessarily going to judge your decisions, judge where you are in life, but just sort of support you. And it's nice to know that they're there for you. And, I certainly appreciate that.
Well, that's important to know that you can talk to someone. But what are the repetitive thoughts, the repetitive actions, the repetitive habits, I guess, that you maybe go through, if you want to share, that may or not serve you?
Oh, like sort of like self-sabotage, or what's that new word?
No, it's not. You see how you right away went to the negative. It doesn't have to be negative. I'm just asking, what are the repetitive thoughts? For example, let me just give you an example, okay? Some people live from victimhood. They get up, and right away they're thinking, this one did this to me, that one did that to me, this one's not fair, the government's not fair, the person did boom, 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 and they're busy complaining all day and night, and look at this and look at that. That's their repetitive thoughts, their repetitive actions, their repetitive speech. That's where they live. That's their pattern. It's almost predictable, with like if you would have to take day 1 of the year, or day 60 of the year, or day 100 of the year, you expect the same pattern. At about this time, he's going to have his coffee, she's going to have her thing, and then they're going to complain about A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and the whole line, right? That's their pattern. Other people have a pattern. They got up, so different people have different patterns. So what pattern do you have, and does it serve you? And if not, let's talk about breaking it. But first, let's recognize the pattern. So do you know what pattern you have? What repetitive thoughts do you have in terms of yourself, in terms of judging yourself? For example, I'm going to help you out while you're thinking this through, because, hopefully I'll help you out here. For example, you spoke about significance. Okay, significance is an interesting thing. When you put that very high on your value scale, it can really sabotage you majorly, because then all of a sudden you're judging yourself. Then all of a sudden you're being too hard on yourself. Then all of a sudden you're, so if you tie significance instead of unconditional love, unconditional result, it's different. So what repetitive actions, thoughts, behaviors, whatever habits do you have of, let's say, significance? Or other things in your life, or trying to actualize that, or trying to feel that, because that's where you live. You said love and significance. So I love I'm not so worried about it. I'm more worried about significance.
Okay, so as far as different thought patterns that'll necessarily, cross my mind, if I'm going through a troublesome point in time in my life. I mean, a lot of people deal with, insecurity, nagging thoughts of like, oh, I'm not good enough, I can't do it. And so I know you said don't focus on the negative.
So I'm sorry, maybe write this down so you could because we're here to recognize. So write this down. Self-sabotage.
Uh-huh.
Judging yourself too harshly. By the way, Julia, FYI, you're not alone. So don't believe me. This is a big thing. Because you're an achiever. You're someone who does a lot. You're someone that impacts probably on one of the highest levels I know of people around me. So at the end of the day, this is normal when you're such an accomplished person, but it still doesn't serve you. So let's talk about it. So what else? Go ahead. If it's uncontrolled.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was trying to earlier, there's a phrase, people are throwing around the term like imposter syndrome, which is sort of the idea of, I don't belong, I'm not good enough, I only got here by chance. And of course, that's not true.
But are those the affirmations that you sell yourself frequently?
You shouldn't say that on a regular basis.
No, but forget about what you should. Julia, we're here now to recognize. We're not here to judge. We're not here to direct. The first piece of this is just recognizing. Mm-hmm. So what's the pattern? What's the patterns that you live at? Is that something that you struggle with sometimes?
I mean, I think everyone struggles with self-doubt. Recently, I have made a conscious effort to be a bit more considerate with myself, and I try to be a little bit more patient when learning something. Like I always, try to tell myself the phrase, like everything's figure-outable. Just because you're struggling with it right now doesn't mean you're going to be struggling, next week or next month or next year.
It's
if you
temporary. This too shall pass.
Exactly. When learning any new skill, it's important to allow yourself to be a beginner. And I know a lot of these things are really cliche, but they're cliche for a reason. So it's important to allow yourself to be a beginner. Know that everybody started off exactly where you are now. So for instance, like with my, aviation studies, it can be very easy to get overwhelmed. You have a ton of instruments that you need to learn. You need to look at all of them simultaneously, and it's a lot to take in. And so it can be so easy to just say like, I'll never be able to get this. It's impossible. But it's not impossible. There are like hundreds of thousands of pilots, in the United States, around the world, 17-year-olds, get their private pilot's license. So, I always think, why can't I do it? There's nothing that they have that I don't have. If I dedicate myself to it and, put in the time and effort, I will eventually get there. It's just a matter of, staying positive and, keeping at it. Don't get discouraged. Know that any progress is progress. And I know we talked about, getting rid of perfectionism,
Yes, I remember that. That's very important. Mm-hmm.
Allow yourself to be a beginner. There's a certified flight instructor in the cockpit with you for a reason. Don't beat yourself up over small mistakes. You're there to learn. So basically,
can we just clap for you? Like you're a freaking pilot. Do you understand that? Okay, but you're on that trajectory. How many girls or guys do we know in our circle? And we meet we know so many people, right? How many of them can we say that about? That they're pilots, freaking here, that come and we know it. Come on, give yourself some credit.
No, I appreciate that. Certainly there are certainly more pilots in my circle now that, I'm in flight school. But before that, there certainly weren't that many. And, this is something that I've wanted to do since I was 12. And I was initially considering doing a program in high school that allows 16, 17, 18-year-olds to take flying lessons to get their private pilot's license. But I prioritized other things at the time. I prioritized cross-country running and academics. And I simply didn't...
Cross-country running. Did you say cross-country running?
Yes.
What does that entail?
Like 5K through the woods.
Tell me more. I don't know.
We'll come back to that.
All right, whatever. It's yeah. So you're an athlete, basically. Go ahead. Yes.
The point is, this initiation was always a dream of mine, but I didn't prioritize it at that time. I was 16, 17, but here I am 10 years later revisiting the dream. So you're never too old. It's never too late. And I figured, why should I, a lot of people become, recreationally, a lot of people become pilots at 17 and at 65 when they retire. There's much less in between. It's either on the far beginning or far end of the spectrum. And I thought, why should I wait until I retire to get my private pilot's license? If I get it now, I'll have it for the whole rest of my life, and I'll be able to go on so many more adventures. So that's, partly what drove me is I thought, what am I waiting for?
Okay.
I basically, I worked it out very well with my schedule to be able to help out my mom out, and I'm able to, study for the written material simultaneously and, take a few flight lessons each week. So I simply found the balance and, sort of created my own schedule to get me there.
Okay, beautiful. So then, Mike, but we're still not getting the answer. What are the patterns? What's your patterns? Recognizing your patterns. Where do you live? Where's your emotional home?
Probably in my head. I'm probably...
So let's do this. Close your eyes, please. And I want you to imagine you get up. What are you thinking about when you start your day? What thoughts go through your head? What thoughts go through your... Just hold on. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in deep, breathe out. Let's slow this down. So when you get up in the morning and you're going to do your thing, and then you're helping your mom, you're doing your thing, what thoughts are you thinking about as you're going, you're taking your test, you're going to the flight school, as you're going here, as you're meeting your friends, as you're doing your things? What are the thoughts that continuously play in your head? What are the affirmations that you verbally say or non-verbally you're just thinking about? What's that pattern where you live every day? The truth, not the bullshit, but the absolute truth. Not where you want to be, not where you hope to be, not where you will be, but where are you? What's the absolute truth of where you are today, right now? What's the pattern? Go ahead.
I think oftentimes, if I'm being honest, to start the day, I'll sort of set goals of mine as far as things that I want to accomplish during the day. Okay. And I'll get discouraged with myself if I don't accomplish all of those goals.
Is it a to-do list or is it outcome?
Yeah. It'll be sort of like a mental to-do list. Like, okay, I want to study this much. I want to accomplish this. And I will get a lot accomplished during the day, but it won't necessarily be everything that I had intended.
I see.
And so I'll be a little harsh with myself about my productivity. But
so time us up right there. So what? Tell me, what are you saying to yourself in your voice? You're saying, Julia, talk to
Sometimes
me.
I'll call myself lazy.
You call yourself what?
I'll call myself lazy if I don't get everything accomplished.
Julia, you're lazy. Okay, so you start affirming that you're lazy. What else? Go ahead.
I would say that's sort of the main one. It's like, oh, I should be more productive. I should do this. I should do that. And even though I am getting a lot done and accomplished, I feel like I want to get more done even.
Do you meditate every day?
No, I probably should.
No, you probably must.
I probably must.
Yeah. Well, you might, because meditation will change everything. When you start hearing something again and again and again and again, repetitive thoughts, repetitive words become thoughts and become actions. So God, everything starts with what you say to yourself, with emotion, again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah, so I should probably just be a little bit more kinder with myself.
Okay. Well, hold on. We still need to. Okay, what we're doing right now is we're looking from the outside, where we're just looking at your pattern. We're not talking about the solution. We're not talking about what you should or shouldn't do. We're just looking without judgment at your pattern that you have right now.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. So you judge yourself. So you set goals and you judge yourself if you didn't accomplish these crazy goals that even someone else would accomplish. One of them would be like, "Oh my gosh, what a day!" And you're like, "I didn't accomplish 10,056 goals today. What the hell's with me?" Got it. What else? That's the pattern. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, I actually read a quote not too long ago, and it talked about. I'll paraphrase, but essentially the quote said something along the lines of, "We overestimate what we can accomplish in a day, and we underestimate what we can accomplish in a year."
Okay, it comes from, that's a beautiful quote, but it comes, I think, from Bill Gates, and Tony Robbins mentions it a lot, and he says, we overestimate what we could do in a year.
Is that Tony Robbins?
Tony Robbins, and also Bill Gates as well. I think he was the original guy, but we underestimate what we could do in 10 years. So therefore, sometimes we need to take the long game, and we need to take big goals and put them into micro-sized pieces. That's a whole nother discussion. But again, Julia, we need to focus. What are the patterns, though, besides judging yourself? But you're not. You're kind of. Go ahead. So let's just try to focus on that, please.
I mean, I would say that
you're not enjoying this. Are you getting tired? Go ahead.
I am. I'm getting a little fatigued here.
I see. You have a little wall to actually. You see, what we're doing now is we need to recognize the pattern so we can change it and we can obliterate it if it doesn't serve you. So we need to fully recognize it and not create fluff and not bullshit ourselves and not. We need to say the honest effing truth. Where are you? What's your emotional home? What are the emotional patterns that you engage in? What's the verbal, the mental, the physical patterns you do every single day, most days? Where do you live? Let's go. So what is it? No judgment, no comment, just straight.
I mean, I don't know what else you're looking for. I do feel like I can be a little hard on myself, but I feel like for the most part, like I tend to, in general, I tend to be a pretty optimistic person.
So most of the day, what are the patterns? Are you telling yourself, great job here, great job there, wow, you outdid that, wow, you get 1,000, percent. Is that what you're telling yourself all day?
It's not that level of enthusiasm, but
so that's what I'm trying to understand the pattern. So how do you live when you're looking at yourself, when you're looking at what you're doing, when you're doing things and you're telling yourself certain things, you're verbally telling yourself, you're mentally telling yourself, the actions you're taking or not taking, the patterns. Again, that's what I'm looking for. It should be an easy answer, but obviously we're struggling here a little bit.
It's not. I mean, it'll be like a flip-flop. It'll honestly like flip-flop back and forth between, like, oh, wow, good job, Julia. Like, way to nail that landing. And then it'll be like, oh, why is this taking so long? You should have already, like, had this down. So it's sort of
Where do you live more? The truth.
Recently, I have made some really good changes recently, and I feel like maybe like 60% is more on the positive side, and like on the negative.
Okay. And would it serve you to get a lot closer to 100% and get a lot of positive, or really a lot less than? I'm sorry, what?
It really does flip flop back and forth a lot. It's like angel, devil. Like optimism, pessimism. Like, you're doing great, keep at it. I know you're gonna get there. And then
you sound like the stock market. So your pattern is volatility.
No, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I do feel that I am. I'm like very mentally stable, but of course, everyone does.
No, I see. I see that.
Struggle. inadequacy is like a big word for this, but it's more just like self-doubt, like, and frustration, because of course I want to achieve my goals as quickly as possible, which is not always realistic. So I can be like, oh, come on, Julia, like, you should have studied this, you should know this, but of course also on the other side, it's like, you'll get there, be patient, make sure you're still having fun with it. That's the reason you got into this in the first place. Do
you set realistic goals?
I mean, at the time, I think they're realistic, and then sometimes they're a little overly ambitious, but, they do help. Even if I don't reach my goals by the timeline in which I set for them, I always reach them because I keep going, even after that deadline. So, for instance, in the beginning of the year, when I was, had just started taking pilot's license, or taking flying lessons, I started in, I took a couple lessons, but I really started in like April. We'll say like beginning of April. And so I thought, April, May, June, July, August,
sure,
5 months, I can get my private pilot's license in 5 months. And so I sort of set the goal for myself, I'll get my, private pilot's license by the end of the summer. And, of course, that is feasible. There's nothing stopping someone from doing that, except for time commitments necessarily. So, I had a lot going on with my mom, and I was super happy that I was able to help her out, take her to appointments, visit her, when she was like in the hospital or sort of a rehab facility. So being able to be there for her, took priority and was a lot more important than the flying lessons. Okay. So the fact that my goals got pushed back a little bit didn't matter because I had more important things going on in my life.
Okay.
And the fact that the pilots, like the flying lessons are, drawn on a little bit longer.
Yes.
I'm still having fun, and that's like the main reason why I'm doing it. So the fact that, I may get my license by, the end of December versus the end of August, I'm still going to get the license one way or the other. It's not a matter of if, it's just sort of when. So, I did have, like, one of my friends was giving me a hard time because, if you're in a Part 61 program, like I'm in, the bare minimum requirements is like 40 hours of flight time. But the national average is well above that. I think national average is 75. And so he was giving me a hard time for not doing it in the bare minimum number of hours. And, he does that based on, no experience. He took one flying lesson ever, so he doesn't necessarily know what it.
So my question is this. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, finish. What were you saying? Sorry.
Only the people who are too afraid to do something will criticize you. So any other pilot out there will just, give a lot of encouragement.
Write that down. You're talking gems right now.
No pilot is going to say like, oh, you got your private pilot's license in 100 hours. Wow, you should have quit. Like, nobody's going to say that, They're just impressed you got it.
Write it down. Write that down. That people that don't do.
No true runner will criticize another runner's time. So it's like, if you run, 5 or 6 minute miles, you're not going to criticize someone who runs, 8, 9, or 10 minute miles. They're still running. You should still be encouraging of them.
So what's your takeaway? What's your takeaway from that?
Completely, like, disregard the expectations that other people place on you.
Because write that down. What people think of you is none of your business.
Thank you, Sammy. I feel like we should end on that. That is the best note, and that is my favorite takeaway. And you are absolutely right. And I need to completely disregard the outside voices that are placing contingencies on my success.
Do you really want to do that, or is it just going to be positive hope?
I just want to focus on all the positive. Who cares about these limitations that I place on myself or that other people place on me?
But I'm asking, do you really want to accomplish this, or do you just want to like talk about it and not do anything? What do you want?
No, of course I want to accomplish it. I'm going to get the light.
So let's give you homework. Let's go. All right, here's your homework. Okay, first of all, if you want to write any notes, you can. But the homework for you is to write down these names: Dr. Joe Dispenza.
One moment.
Sure.
Dr.
Joe Dispenza.
Uh-huh.
Louise Hay.
Uh-huh.
Tony Robbins.
I know him.
You know him. Wim Hof.
What was that one?
Wim, W-I-M, Hof. H-O-F, I think, or just one F. Wim Hof.
All right.
Okay. All of those four, you need to find their meditations. Tony Robbins has a 15-minute thing that he does, which is really awesome. Dr. Joe Dispenza has tons of meditations where he's helped people heal from the most extreme stuff. And Louise Hay is an absolute master, I believe, in healing with meditations. And she has an evening meditations. One of them's like 11 hours. I go to sleep with it sometimes. And then Wim Hof has breathing techniques, which is like, I don't know, a few minutes of how to breathe. And it's been proven to medically be really good for you. Pick whichever ones you like. But your homework is to let me know tomorrow which meditations you found that you're going to be doing every day for the next 30 to 90 days. Every single day. Okay? You need to really start. One more guy. Very important. Earl Nightingale. He doesn't have, I don't know if he has meditations, but he has good speeches. So if you can find him, he's really good. Earl Nightingale. He writes how we become what we think about. And then, of course, the Napoleon Hill book, which you have on my Bull and Bear Strategic. You can watch that audio book, 10, 12-hour book. Okay. So very important, Julia, is for you to consistently start to affirm. This is your homework. Starting the second, you're going to consistently affirm what you want. And you're going to talk about yourself in the present tense. One more guy, Bob Proctor. Right? Bob Proctor. You heard of him? Proctor Gallagher Institute?
I'm not sure.
That's okay. So every day you need to start right now always affirming. Whatever you do, you're only going to be talking about the positive from now on. There's not going to be any more negative, any more judgment in a negative way. You're going to set goals and you're going to say, how can I improve? And your whole thing is you're going to look, how can I fail today? Write that down. How can I fail today? Write that down. How can I fail today? Okay? And what that means is, I think it's the one from Spanx, created the whole $1 billion brand. I'm not sure. I think it's her. I lost you. What?
I think her name is Sarah Blakely. I follow her.
I think it was her or someone else, but I heard someone say, she said her dad every day would say, what did you fail at today?
That's her.
And if she would say nothing, he would say, what the hell? Why didn't you push yourself? My point is, instead of looking at failure in a way of judgment, look at failure as an indication that you're actually maximizing your potential, and give yourself, yes, I took uncomfortable action today. Write that down. I took uncomfortable action today, and give yourself a pat on the back and feel good about the fact that you failed. So therefore, when you look at your day, instead of looking, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I only did 40 flight lessons. What if you would reframe that and say, nobody around me that I know within 10,000 miles has done that, has done one flight lesson. So why am I even paying attention to other people? What other people think of you is none of your freaking business. So doesn't come into your life. Okay? It's remember that. There's people that win, and then there's people that talk and judge. Write that down. There's people that win, and there's people that talk and judge. Don't spend time with the talk and judgers. because those are usually the losers.
Yep.
And that's it. And you need to cut them off. Any questions, comments, or concerns? I hope today was good for you. I hope you had a good time.
Yes, Sammy, thank you so much for all of your time.
Thank you, my love. And any questions, concerns, comments?
Ooh, not a lot. A lot of research, a lot to take in. Great launching off point.
All right, so I'll talk to you tomorrow. And don't forget your homework. And please, tonight, do the first. Like, don't wait till tomorrow. I'll do it. Like, do it now. Like, find a meditation to go to sleep with. Like, right now, you could type in Louise Hay sleep meditation. Louise Hay sleep meditation started tonight, and then tomorrow you can play with the other ones. But Louise Hay sleep meditation, she is so good. She has such good affirmations. Like, the main thing, I'll close on this. The main thing is for you to repeat it again and again and again and again and again. You know, like someone asked her. They said, I think it was her. They said, I affirm these things, but nothing happens. Nothing changes in my life. And I'm affirming it for whatever. She says, question for you. You're affirming it 1 time or 5 times or whatever times, correct? Yes. How many times are you disaffirming it? Where you're saying the complete opposite. You're like, yes, I'm the best. I can do anything. I can do anything. I can do anything for a minute. And then the rest of the day for 23 hours and 55 minutes, you're there going, oh my gosh, what's with me? Oh my gosh, I can't do that. Oh, and you keep affirming the negative. So you become what you think about. You become what you say to yourself. So now our job is the next 39 days starting today. We're going to change that. Okay, my love. Love you. Have a great night. Thank you so much for your time. Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your patience while we got this sorted out. Take care. Good night.
Good night, Sammy.
Good night. Thanks.